everybody, Invisiblekatana here doing my full Season 2 review for Iron Fist. Of course, there will be spoilers in this, but naturally I will get to those when I get to them. I'll let you guys know with the spoiler warning. First off, of course, it's better than Season 1. Admittedly, that's not hard, but it does need to be said because the first season was such a roller coaster of good and bad, and there's like, this small gem was good, but it was like one episode, or this was good, but it was like the last 3 episodes of the show, or that fight scene was cool, but all the other ones suck, or there's like 2 good ones in the whole season, and then it's like, well, why are these good, but he couldn't beat these people, but that was a great fight scene. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. So it's just better all around. They even point out the fact that he does lose fights, which I thought was a funny little moment in this season, where it's like, aren't you supposed to be like the best martial artist ever? But he does lose fights. So I enjoyed that. Like I said, though, pretty easy to kind of be better than the first season. Yeah, other than that, I thought it was good overall. I enjoyed it. Of course, I wasn't as happy as I thought it was going to be with the season. I still thought that it was, the super duper dramatic. Like, I was kind of hoping that this season, and I'll kind of get into this later specifically why, but I was hoping this season was going to finally be Danny Rand being Danny Rand that I know. What little I know of him, I know he's, more entertaining than this. So I was like, I thought it was going to be this season, and it seems like with the way it ends, that might actually happen in season 3, so maybe we just gotta wait one more and it'll officially be like just the fun character that I was hoping for. But I still enjoyed this season. As everyone pretty much says, Colleen is super awesome. And that, that's just fun, kind of watch her character, and she's super cool. But all in all, decent season. I like the villain in this better than in the first season, even though there were some great elements from the villain in the first season with, the fact that it was like Harold being, Ward's dad, and like the mental torture that Ward went through. He was one of my favorite parts about the first season because it was just fun watching his character be like mentally tortured and what he went through. And we see the progression of that, which I thought was cool. He's doing a lot better than he was for sure in the last season. So I enjoyed that. Joy, of course, joining in with Davos is like the two, main villains and stuff like that. It was interesting. Just watching, it's like, okay, let's see where this kind of goes. And I didn't care much for Joy, admittedly. I thought she was cool when she was like, on Danny's side. And then this, I was just like, I don't like her as much. I totally get why she was mad. I totally do, because it's like, hey, my dad was alive and you both lied to me. And so totally makes sense why she was so upset. But it was just like, yeah, I'm still just not really, like, it just wasn't that entertaining as far as I was concerned. Plus, there were just some elements to it where it was just kind of like, I felt she was just constantly harping on it. And once again, I haven't been lied to for like a decade that my father was still alive and weird stuff like that. So I can't exactly say I have experienced anything getting over it. But it was still just like, there were some elements to it where I was like, man, with everything that happened and everything they said, especially about who their, her father really was and everything that was going on there. There's a very specific scene with Ward. Nothing seemed to change her mind like whatsoever. And I'll talk about that because that was one of my favorite scenes. It was just a favorite scene solely based on the acting because I thought it was really well done. But I'll talk, more specifically about that later. But all in all, thought it was good. Like I said, I don't think that anyone who hated Iron Fist is gonna love Iron Fist. I don't think it does anything to make you love it at all. In all honesty, I think it was just good. There are just a lot of elements that, well, I shouldn't say a lot. There was literally one element, and it was Danny as the character. He just wasn't the fun-loving character that I wanted. So that kind of leads me into my spoiler side of this. So official spoiler warning: check out the season or don't. I would definitely recommend this, obviously, over season 1. I don't know. Watch the recap. I mean, they do a full season recap, so that's good. You can do that and just YouTube all the good fight scenes. I'm sure there's a very specific video called "The Good Fight Scenes from Iron Fist." It should only be like 5 minutes. But yeah, so check that out if you want to. But going into the full spoilers for season 2, the main thing is Danny Rand. That I just didn't enjoy the fact that he was still. It was better than the first season where he was like the cocky character. It's him realizing, now that we've gone from, season 1 to Defenders, now to season 2, and like, his tiny stint in Luke Cage, the one episode. It's like, okay, this is still the character that I thought we were past already. Like, I thought we went through that because of what happened especially specifically in the Defenders. We got past that, and seemingly what they showed us in Luke Cage, I thought for sure we were 100% past that version of the character, or this version, I guess, of the character, because he was great in that one episode of Luke Cage. That was one of my favorite episodes. And I was like, this is what I like. When I saw that episode, I was like, I'm so excited now for season 2, because I thought he was going to be that fun loving character. Like when he came in, and it's really funny. It's like basically, Luke Cage season 2 and Iron Fist season 2 are like the exact same season. If you really think, if you've seen both, you kind of know what I'm talking about, but they legitimately go through like the same thing. I would say the ending is really the difference, but the actual story of the characters is exactly the same for this season. It's like, I have this power, and now I'm starting to realize how I need to use it and stuff like that. And they just go through these processes of being, not as heroic as they probably should be. And so it's really just the end cap that kind of makes it different. And that, admittedly, I would say that that's really the main difference there. But it's pretty much the exact same season. And it was funny watching Danny in Luke Cage, and I was like, this is cool. He's teaching Luke, like, you got to go with the flow. You have to realize that you can't just be angry and use power. That's not how it works. And then the whole season, I was like, what the F? This is like his whole fight is him dealing with, his constant power and stuff like that, and having too much power and using it as power rather than using it as a way to help. And that was like the whole focus. And I was like, this is literally what he helped Luke Cage with. Plus, it was just super fun watching him, because he was like, he was the funny, calm guy in Luke Cage. And I was like, sweet. And that's what had me so excited for this season. And then, like, the first episode, I could tell, I was like, okay, here we go. Like, he goes to the bottom of the subway, and he's waiting for the train to pass, and he's punching the door. And I was like, he's super mad. And I was like, what the F? Like, what the heck? So that annoyed me, because I was like, I thought we were past this. It wasn't as bad as before. Like, he was kind of douchey, because it was the whole I'm the immortal Iron Fist stuff, like 800 effing times. So it was much better than that. It was legitimately him trying to figure out, how do I do this right, and how do I, just make it work. And then it, of course, goes into the idea of he can't make it work. He can't control his love of that power, like having the Iron Fist. So I was like, it's still way better, but it's still him being angry. It's a different way to do it, because it's at least him, kind of working on it, and not just being that character where it's like, I have this, which was one of the good parts about season 1, when they like touched on it for 2 minutes, where it's like, oh, it's not just he feels that, he's like indoctrinated, but that was just like a thing. And it was like, well, that should have been like the whole season should have been that, where he doesn't realize that he's basically been mind controlled since he was a child. But either way, that's a missed opportunity that won't come back. But yeah, him going through it, I was just like, okay. I was like, all right, I like the way it ended. I thought that was a cool way to do it. I think everyone can agree that it was super sweet, because, of course, once again, full spoilers, but ending it with Colleen actually getting the power, and then we find out that Danny actually does have his powers back by the end of the little extra clip. But giving her the ability, I think, was perfect, because everybody likes Colleen. She's like the sweetest character. So that just made sense. I totally forgot. In the comic book, she does go by White Tiger, if I remember correctly. So it was funny. I was like, oh, I wonder what her color is going to be. And as soon as it was white, I was like, I'm so stupid, because I knew that was her name in the comic. So it was funny. Like, as soon as it happened, I was like, I should have remembered that I knew that. But that was super awesome. So, she has the Iron Fist. It seems like she does only have one. And then when they show the clip for Danny, he does have two. Like, he was able to figure out how to get both fists. So I thought that was super cool. One thing that I was curious about, though, was whether or not it was actually Danny using his powers. Because when I first saw it, I was kind of confused. I was like, is it the guns that are imbued with the magic and he's just able to do it? Like, the guns were kind of making his hands light up? Or was it that he was lighting them up? But when I watched another video, they said it was his hands. But I was like, I feel like they made it oddly, kind of ambiguous like that. Mostly because of the fact that when they're like, oh, he wants his property, and he's like, oh, these, and it was the guns specifically, I was like, oh, so the guns are magic, not his. It wasn't actually his hands, but it was also yellow. So I, it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know if that was actually him or if it was the guns, but the guns are the same color as him because he's using it, whatever crazy magic crap. But I would assume that it was his hands, because it's based off of a different Iron Fist, which they do reference at the end of this episode. The person they're actually looking for, Orson whatever, he actually is a former Iron Fist in the comic books, and he's the one that actually uses guns. So maybe the guns, are very specific because they can channel, the abilities of the Iron Fist, but not every single gun can do that. Certain items that are passed down through certain families, like, Colleen, of course, being a descendant of one of the former Iron Fists, that's the only reason her katana lights up, is because it's a very specifically made, weapon. So that could be how they do it. I don't really know. But either way, I thought that was cool. It was way cooler with Colleen because I love katana. So it was just like, well, that's super sweet. Like, I would love to see how that works. Like, if she hit the ground, would it do the same thing? I mean, man, I thought they like had their fill of like him punching the ground. They did that so much in this season, and I was like, it's interesting watching that because I feel like in the first season they made that seem like this super big deal where it wasn't like you can't just do that all the time, but apparently you can. You just hit the ground and it makes a sonic boom, and I'm like, so do they have control over that? Because like it works when it hits Luke Cage because he's basically invincible, so the impact stops, and so that's why it's a shockwave. But I'm like, when they hit the ground isn't as strong as the Iron Fist, like iron. So it was just like you would crack through it. Like, I feel like they would be able to like get through it in one hit, but they make like sonic booms, and I'm like, are they controlling it? Are they not controlling it? Because everything just blows back, and I'm like, he's just hitting concrete. Admittedly, I mean, we use sledgehammers and jackhammers for that stuff, and I'm just like, I feel like it wouldn't be this big deal every time they hit the ground. Sometimes you just punch through the ground, like they did it at the house when they did it, at the dojo, and Davos uses like both his hands, and I was like, I feel like that's off. Like, it just seemed weird to me. I was like, they kind of control it, but I thought it had to be very specific to like some sort of real world thing. Like, if I punch the wall behind me, it's not gonna create a seismic wave. I just punch through the wall because it's just weak. Like, Davos should have just blown a hole in the ground instead of making this giant seismic wave. I was like, I feel like they made a point to kind of show it has to be this very specific thing. Like, you have to punch certain very thick stuff for it to make that that seismic wave. But they were just doing that like crazy. Just like everybody who, if you got a fist, you just punch the ground, seismic boom. It was super cool. It was fun to watch, but because they did it so much, it was just like, oh, it's just kind of like the thing. It wasn't as cool as like in the first season when he does it, or in Defenders when he does it, and like they're blowing people back. Some of the scenes were super sweet. A couple of times they did it was definitely cool. Seeing Danny in the very beginning of the series when he like punches the truck and like blows their front off, that I thought was a cool sequence. Davos was insane with it. I love Davos as a villain. I thought he was way better than Harold from the first season, which was technically like the Hand was the villain of the first season, but I thought he was super fun, especially when he gets gets both Iron Fists, and by the end of the season, he's just nuts. And they killed a couple of people who I wasn't expecting it. Like, he killed the one kid, and then BB got stabbed at the end. I was like, dang, I thought somebody might live. Just the kids that realized he was insane just kept dying. I was like, dang, I thought somebody would get kind of slip through the cracks. I was like, no, he's been stabbed. He got his throat slit. The super innocent dude, he just punched through his stomach and killed him. He punched one guy's head off when they were fighting at the end of the season, like the one bodyguard who was just like, I don't know what he was smoking, where he's just like, we'll fight him. I mean, unless they just started to pull out guns, which they never did. Like, he was just so confident. I was like, we're sweeter than a magic fist that punches through people's spines. I don't know what his deal was, but obviously he died. I wasn't even shocked. I was like, yeah, that ended pretty fast too. It wasn't even that long of a fight. I thought he would like hold up for a little bit. I was like, no, that was actually one of the shorter fights of the season, and he died. And I was like, whole season he's just been talking game, dead. Shocker. But action was good. I love Davos. I like crazy villains, so it was fun watching him, where he's like that guy where it's like, I want to do this and like I want to make things right, but he's insane. And he even gets the tip from Joy where it's like, let people see that you're trying to make something better. And so he's like, hey, you don't have to worry about protection or anything like that. Like, there's no payment. You have protection, but you don't have to pay. And then the guy's like, I kind of just want to be out of it. Like, I don't want to have protection from anyone. I just don't want anything. I just want to be able to kind of live on. And then he loses it, and it's like, oh, you're with the Tigers. Or it's like, I've never been with anybody. Just don't want sides. And then he just murders the dude. And I'm like, wow, he's really insane. And then, of course, I think Rhino was the guy's name. The dude behind him slits his throat, and it's just like, well, does anyone else doubt what we're doing here? And it's like, great. Tries to kill Joy, just pushes her straight off the balcony and stuff. So a lot of crazy stuff with that guy, and he's not dead. And so it does make me wonder, is he gonna still have his Iron Fist? Because I'm sure there's some stuff that was skipped. Obviously, Danny getting his Iron Fist powers back whatever happened there, happened, which is one of the things that makes me wonder, like, are they gonna change it from the comics where it's actually the guns that are magic? Because if Danny got his back just over time, which I'm sure they'll explain he did something, but if they just came back over time, then that means Davos could come back as a villain as well. So that's why I'm kind of curious to see how they decide to do it, because Danny got his powers back. Plus, he had both fists, so it was like, is it really him, or was it the guns? That's why I had that big question, because they can change whatever they want, really, and just say it's the guns that are magic. It was just Danny using them, so his power is yellow. But it does make me wonder where they're headed with that. But I really enjoyed it. Misty being in this was super awesome. As everyone said, their stuff was some of the best. Like them fighting. Well, mostly it was Colleen fighting the two tattooed women, and then Missy basically just armbarred the one woman, because of course she was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna drive off on this motorcycle." I'm like, "Well, she doesn't know," and Missy just clotheslines her. So it's just like, all right, well, that's done. But great fight scene with Colleen, and the two of them just have like the best chemistry ever. I don't know if it's like it's a mixture of everything. It's like the characters themselves are just really good characters, but the actresses just have like the perfect chemistry when they're when they're acting together. So like everyone else, I'm kind of like, they can just have their own show and it'll be fine. If they do Daughters of the Dragon, is like their comic series when it's the two of them, and it's like they could easily do that, and it's just like everyone would love it because that's kind of what everybody likes anyway. And that mostly only happens when it involves Iron Fist. And they did a little in Luke Cage, but they just work perfectly like all the time. It's like those two characters just fit, and it's like, man, that would be sweet. I don't know if they'll do that. At some point they kind of have to, especially now that Colleen has the Iron Fist. It's like inevitable. Like it might take a while, but they kind of have to do that at some point now. Because it's like I mean, everyone wants it. Like they're just perfect together. Like it just works. So that was awesome watching them together in general. Like the two episodes I think in a row when they were together, it was like, this is pretty sweet. This is just fun watching them. So really enjoyed that. Like I said, action was good, characters were good. I like Ward in this season. He was more entertaining to watch just because it's like, to watch this character be like destroyed mentally was super fun, and that's why I love the scene where he explains to Joy how often he would like drive to her apartment and stuff, and try to figure out how to tell her like we need to leave. And it was like, all those times I said I was injured, like the car accident and this and that, it was him like beating me. And that was one of the scenes that really made me not like Joy. Like even with that scene where it's like this man was mentally tortured and sent into like this legitimately insane spiral, and she was just like, "Well, you didn't do that, and you lied to me." And it was like, I kind of get where she's coming from, but that seems so absolute to have just like no feeling about it, and all the stuff they mentioned about their dad being like undead and super duper evil and all this other stuff, and it was just like, she ignored all of it. And that was one of the things where I was just like, it kind of annoys me just a little. Like there was not even one scene where she was just like, I at least understand it, but I don't accept it or something like that. I felt like we just didn't have that at all, and I was like, I feel like that's what was missing, because otherwise it's just like, how can you just act like there was no other side to it? Like there was a lot there with him being this crazy dude who was lying to his daughter and stuff, like just weird stuff like that. And I was just like, man, she just ignored it all. It's just like, nope, you just didn't tell me, so I'm gonna like steal Danny's power and have you killed or whatever her plan was there. But yeah, it was interesting. Mary slash Walker, super awesome character. Great mystery in the very beginning, because I'm just like, what is up with this weird person? I don't know what's happening. She's insane. But I loved it. I thought that was super cool. And then of course we have the third version of Walker, which is they call it Typhoid Mary in the comics, but it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. It's either typhoid, they'll probably call her like Bloody Mary or something, but looking forward to how that's going to play out. In the comics, I believe she's a mutant, so they'll probably just do like whatever dumb term they have in the cinematic universe. I can't remember. I think it was like experiments or gifted or something super dumb. But I think that'll be it. But either way, looking forward to her character coming back because I like her. We'll just see what happens. They did a nice little time skip, so I'm excited for them to go back into the season, when we hit season 3, and it's just like, here's all the cool stuff that happened, because they skipped so much time. It's like, all right, all they have to do is just kind of give us the hits, and that's it. And I don't think that's what we'll get, but I would love to see that personally. And so we should get a second journey of Danny, like, finding himself. And by the end, him pulling out the guns, he seemed like he was having fun, like, being super cool and stuff. So I'm like, season 3, fun Danny Rand, I really hope. But all in all, decent season, action so much better. So I just really love that. Just, the action was just so meh in that first season. That's why I love the Defenders. His first fight scene, I was like, he actually kicked somebody. He like did a spin and he kicked somebody, and I was like, that's all it took, and it was great. But good action. Love the story at the end. Colleen obviously getting the Iron Fist was just like the coolest thing. Who wouldn't want that? Because she was way more interesting to watch than Danny. Her backstory, where it's like, it turns out that she is connected to the Iron Fist lineage, anyway, based on her mother or her ancestors. So that I thought was fantastic. I was like, that's a cool way to do it. Everybody wants that anyway, because who cares about Danny? Just because they still haven't done it perfectly, except for that one episode of Luke Cage. Different writers, so I guess that would be it. But I'm like, I thought we had it, and I was like, I was so excited for this season. And it was like, that's not what I was hoping for. But I am looking forward to season 3. Happy, basically hippie Danny is like, we need it. That's just all I want. That's all that really matters. Like, cause that's the character. Just make him like fun loving. He found himself. We skip, do the time skip. He's found himself. He's like, I got it. I'm with my brother. He's with Ward and everything. Just make him fun. That's all I want. But would love to know what you guys thought about this season. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. Favorite parts, least favorite parts. Of course, with that ending, I would love to know what you guys want to see from season 3. What your predictions are for season 3. What you don't want to see for season 3. I feel like a lot of people will probably just say Danny in general still, but we'd love to know what you guys are looking forward to for season 3, and of course, like I said, what you guys thought about season 2. So please put your comments down in the comment section below, and of course, thanks for watching.